Hello out there and abroad. Nina Childs here again with another wonderful interview with Maya TV. Today we are speaking with the wonderful creative producer Alex Ayzin. Welcome, Alex, to the show. How are you today?
Thank you, Nina. I'm great.
Well, we're going to get right into it now, Alex. I actually wanted to start from the very beginning because I know that you have done a lot of work as an engineer and in the financial sector as well as the real estate sector, but you are now in the film world as a creative and producer. Tell us more about that transition, how that came about with your history.
Well, being at the age I'm at, I'm very thankful to God that not only He kept me alive, but He allowed me to have all of these different experiences from my life, beginning from where I was born and raised and where I went to school. And this is actually, believe it or not, this kid over here is me. I'm 21 over here as a young sailor, and on the Black Sea, in the Black Sea Navy, was still one country, Soviet Union, where I was born and raised. And even young age, I had this creative streak, and I like to put things together. We started to rock band, which was not approved by authorities. Of course, at that time, we were hustled and harassed. And then later in the US, I continued on with doing different things as a trained Navy and power engineer. I ended up working for New York power generation company, Con Edison, and at the same time, I was already producing some music. Some of it was rock, some of it was classical, and I always loved doing that. So I had I'm like a tripod in a way. When you look at the camera, I'm a tripod. So 3 legs, one leg is technical engineering, the other one is some business, and the third one is creative. And if you kick one leg out, boom, I'll fall down. So I gotta stay on all 3 legs.
I love that. I love that. Now, in doing my research on you, I actually came across a really great piece of art called Winds of Freedom. And I know that's one of your launching projects. Tell us a little bit more about that and how that came about in the creative process for that.
Well, Winds of Freedom is something really, really deep and something very, very dear to my heart. And I started working on this thing with a very talented composer who studied music at the Moscow Conservatory, and we both came to the United States late 1979. He's a descendant of I would say of Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff. His name is Emilian Sichkin. Very talented classical. I turned him onto the synthesizers, onto the new age music. We were listening to Yanni, we were listening to Vangelis, we were listening to Patrick O'Hearn, and I started pushing Emilian into this thing. And I created sort of storyboards and ideas, and he wrote the music that eventually became the foundation for the video documentary called The Winds of Freedom, which is available on windsoffreedom.org. Windsoffreedom.org.
Okay.
That was the collapse of communism was a trigger to me. When Gorbachev and Reagan made the Berlin Wall collapse, and when Reagan said, "Mr. President, take down that wall," that was a trigger to me. I was already in the US. We were celebrating the end of the communist era because I grew up in the era of communist suppression, fear, domination, and the Cold War. So we greeted that new beginning and new Russia with open arms. And that was the trigger to me to create Winds of Freedom. It became a multimedia. First it was just music, and then later I created a video that literally in the end celebrates the victory of the human spirit, that people can overcome anything with the faith in God and faith in themselves and believing in something good. I wanted to create a inspiring and educational video, and that's what Winds of Freedom all about. It took forever, and it took my divorce too. So because not everybody shared my beliefs, and me spending money that was hard to come by to do this thing, but it's there. And I'm really, really proud of that work. And in the near future, we want to turn it into a part of a global peace festival. Because of what's going on in the Middle East and what's going on in Eastern Europe between Russia and Ukraine is unacceptable. As human beings, we must stop the wars. and we must all work together to maintain peace. This world is too small for us to fight. We gotta be in it together.
Absolutely. So I love that you have a message of peace. But with that being said, just to pivot, your latest project is a bit different from Winds of Freedom and, dare I say, a bit more controversial. So you are actually one of the lead producers on American Comedy, starring Pete Allman, Eric Roberts, and Dan Laurie. And now tell me how that idea came about and the part you played in getting this to stream.
Well, here we have it behind us is the poster for American Comedy. That's the name of the film. And right there's a tagline, which is Make America Laugh Again. That line came into my head, or God gave it to me in 2017. You see, I went to college and I kind of came up in New York. I was very well aware of Donald Trump and his workings in New York, being a major construction developer guy. He was kind of became like a logo of New York City in many ways. And some people loved him, some people didn't quite, but his results were always positive for the city. He built up a lot of things, and he helped New York to get out of the recession that it was in at that time. So when in 2016, actually I used to go to Trump Tower, have a cup of coffee every now and then. I saw Donald from the distance. When he became a president, which was a big surprise for everyone, I thought it was not for real, that he's just playing as a great the showman of that show, You Are Fired, The Apprentice.
The Apprentice.
So I thought that Donald is just doing it for publicity, but then we realized that he is doing it for real. And when he became in 2016 the president, all the hell broke loose, and there were controversies all over the place, and there were people really disliking him and saying many terrible things, and he was responding hard in his ways. And my mom was even like crying a little bit. She says, what's going on? Trump said, make America great again. And we were going back and forth about the controversies. And then I said, look, why don't it came to me, I said, can we make America laugh again? Enough of these controversies and enough of these, frictions and hate, all that. And since I knew Pete Allman we connected like 20 years ago. And Pete, when he dresses up, he looks like Trump. It's very uncanny resemblance.
He sounds like him too.
He sounds like him. He goes outside, people start laughing, taking pictures. Chinese tourists on Hollywood Boulevard. Anywhere he goes, it's a positive emotion when he shows up. I said, Pete, are you okay? Are you good if we try to do something, make a comedy, make a political kind of a satire, lighten things up? So are you okay in performing and playing Donald J. Trump? And he said, well, if it's about peace, I'm in, because I want peace. Peter is the man of peace. And that's how the idea came into my head, make America laugh again. I started creating sketches. The concept was that Donald is not well liked in the state of California. And whether true or not, whether it's right or wrong, but that's kind of he's not well liked. And so I said, well, let's bring Trump to California. Let's bring him to Los Angeles, closer to constituencies, closer to people in there, and start building a little bit of a better relationship between the president at that time and between the population. And how do we do it? Okay, we'll bring him into Chinese restaurant, we'll bring him into the Persian restaurant, and we'll bring him into the Russian restaurants. And these are all three countries that are not big friends of the United States.
And the Mexican fast food restaurant. Let's not forget that one.
And the Mexican stand, the first one. So we bring Trump in there, and then let's just see what develops, what happens there. To taste ethnic foods, meet people, and have meetings with the leaders of these countries. So that was a comedic episode of Donald coming to LA. And of course, Donald being Donald, he picks up fights. He don't let them get away with anything. They don't let him get away. And so things begin to escalate, like Putin challenges Trump to a fight. He gets a little drunk, and he's challenging him to a fight. Then the Chinese president also doesn't like the way Trump talks. And in an Iranian restaurant, Trump confuses and says, I love this shish kebab instead of shish kebab. And so even the waiter tries to pick up a fight with him. So all of this thing happened. And of course, taco stand, where he confuses tacos with Chinese egg rolls. We still eats tacos, and he loves them. And so this goes in the end. Donald gets kind of chased by everyone, and he says, "I had enough. I'm leaving. I'm running away. I'm going to Mexico." And then he tries to scale the wall that he's building, and he's just trying to get away to Mexico. The rest of it is in the film, and our mission was to make people smile. I absolutely believe the whole concept of this movie is humor against hate. In the 70s, there was a slogan, "Make love, not war." I'm saying, make laughter, not war. And once again, make America laugh again. Not make Democrats laugh again. Let's not make like Republicans laugh again, or the purple states, or people in the middle. It's for all of us. We all share this country, and we wanted to create a positive, satirical in a way, sort of a American lampoon, so that distress, especially at the time before the elections, when I was really concerned that we're going to go into the Civil War, and I don't want a bloodshed. I come from the country that went through a lot of revolutions. My family was in the World War II. My father was involved with the Vietnam War. He then was in Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we wanted to make something that will make people laugh. Because I very firmly believe that if you laugh at me, you're less likely to pull 45 and want to shoot me.
Right.
I mean, sounds like crazy.
Agreed.
But we're hoping that put that message out there and make people smile.
Yeah. No, I definitely streamed the film, and I recommend that you stream it too. American Comedy is now streaming on Amazon. It is available for rent or purchase. And now, I did want to back up a little bit, because you did mention Pete Allman, and he was a guest of the show just 2 weeks ago. And I saw that he actually narrated Winds of Freedom, and it seems like you guys kind of go back. And it's like that. As a producer, you have different actors and performers that you just kind of gel with, that you work with through the years and build these bonds with.
Right.
How did that relationship come about?
Well, it's God puts people together sometimes for the purpose, and it was a total serendipity that 20 years ago, I was going through my divorce, sadly enough, unfortunately, and I was not in a good frame of mind, and I was a little depressed, and that's when I ran into Pete in San Fernando Valley, and he was just sitting there and eating a chicken dinner, and then I walked in the same place right off Ventura Boulevard, and I looked at him, and he looked to me like an attorney who's writing someone up. And he was going to sue the restaurant, and I was involved a little bit on the business end of it at that time. And I said, "Sir, can I ask you something? What are you doing here?" He was the only person at the restaurant when I walked in, sitting there in a suit and a tie. So Ken kind of looked too serious. And I said, "What are you doing in here?" He said, "Oh, I'm just a food critic. I just tasted their beautiful chicken." It was a Hungarian restaurant I'll never forget in Tarzana, in San Fernando Valley. And I said, "Oh, this is what you're doing?" "Yeah, I'm putting stuff on the internet. I'm writing for Las Vegas Review, for LA, and I'm going to praise their food. And too bad people don't know it's Hungarian, but it's really, really good. It's not a total American. It's not Pollo Loco, but not McDonald's, but it's something that's tasty." And he said, "Wow, that's so interesting. I'd like to know more about what you're doing." And somehow we connected. And I live like a few blocks away from there. He was traveling from Las Vegas. And I said, "Hey, would you like to stay at my place?" He says, "Oh, I love it. I'm over here. I'm just in between places and spaces." He ended up staying with me, and he became my Dr. Freud. He became a psychiatrist, helping me to get out of my divorce-induced depression. And he was very, very positive. He's a faithful person. He really, truly believes in God and goes to church, and I think that's a source for him in many, many ways. And he became the source for me, and we became friends. And more we became friends. Then he learned about the Winds of Freedom. And I played the music to him, and he loved it. And I gave him my concept that this should become an inspiration documentary, particularly for high school and for college kids, because we're trying to cover the history past 100 years of our world. Bad things and good things, all of the things that are happening to us, and most importantly to me, having come from communist camp, and my grandpa and my dad were in the World War II, and I will even show it real quick. The photograph, these two, this is my father right here, Eli, and this is my grandpa, who went and fought in one of the first divisions of the Soviet Marines, who fought from Crimea to Berlin, and he survived. And so these are great people, my inspiration. I'm very proud of them. They helped to defeat Nazis during the World War II. And so I'm saying we don't want another war. You see, now 9 countries have the nukes, and Iran is very close. It's not like in 1945, the US was the only country. We dropped the up, the World War II was over. Today, 9 countries have it. So it will be, we can't even think about that. It's going to be a complete extermination of the human race. So I wanted to contribute something and create these Winds of Freedom that celebrates human spirit, human intelligence, and the reason why we will not self-destruct. And that was it. So Pete became my #1 fan, huge, big supporter. And in the film that finally was completed in 2018, I got to it. It took over 20 years for me, in between of everything else, to put this thing together. And he's doing voiceover, and he became a very important element of peace. And by the way, it transcends, it's a transient theme, because American comedy is also designed at the bottom of it, let's have peace through laughter.
Absolutely.
So the theme of peace is very common to both of us. And that's what we like to pursue, and I'm thankful to God for putting us together 20 years ago.
Wow. That's a beautiful story of friendship and how you guys met. And so thank you for sharing that with us now. On the heels of American comedy, you guys now have a series that you guys have created from that called Donald's World. Can you talk just a little bit about that? How that came about from the film, who from the film is involved with the series, and what's next for you?
Well, the number of people told us that this concept of American comedy is actually great for a full season television series, like 10 or 12 episodes. And
so would that be like a mini series? Because if it's just 10 or 12 episodes, that's a mini series versus a series which would go maybe 4 to 5 seasons.
No one knows. Really, no one knows.
Still in the air.
It's obviously it's in the air, but my very capable and brilliant and hardworking partner and co-writer, Spencer Cadigan, pushed for, and I wrote some notes. I created some concepts, and he put together basically a pilot, 30-minute pilot that is there for those who would like to come in and support us, because everything you have to have finances. Finances is like a gas for the car. You can have a beautiful, Ferrari sitting in the dark garage, and if you have no funds to drive that car, then who cares?
Right.
So we were looking to possibly get people involved with us and create a series which will be, again, funny, comedic, depicting on the politicians of our time. Comes American Lampoon or Saturday Night Live in that venue. So that's the desired kind of avenue that we would like to pursue.
Okay. With an underlying message of peace always.
Well, it's always peace. Make fun of each other. Don't make war. Don't threaten people physically. Find ways to resolve issues. So humor against hate.
I love that. I love that. Well, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Did you have anything else for us today?
I'm just thankful for being here, and you guys are one of the pioneers of the podcasting. And Ling Tang and Nina, thank you guys. I believe that I hope your audience will enjoy this little interview. And then in the end, I would say, I have a surprise for you.
You have a surprise for us?
That's right.
All right, well, let's see. What is the surprise?
And dum 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 dum.
We will make America laugh again.
Welcome, Mr. President.
Pete Allman, everybody. I want to thank everyone out there that is streaming. Thank you for tuning in with us. I want to thank my esteemed guest, Alex Ayzin, and our surprise guest, Pete Allman. Make sure that you guys stay tuned because we have more interviews coming up today. And until next time, we'll see you guys. Bye-bye.